Welcome, everyone, to our Q3 Partner Quarterly Update, and thank you very much for joining us. For those of you who have not met before, I'm Prasitha, and I head up the partnership team. I'm joined today by two fantastic guest speakers, Nick Barron and Christine Masters. On today's agenda, we'll be covering some partnership updates, technical and enablement updates from Nick, and product updates from Christine. This webinar is for you, so please feel free to ask questions throughout the session so you can get best value from your time. You can use the Q&A panel to do that, and Matt and I will be monitoring that throughout the webinar to either answer those topics live or through the chat. Okay then, let's dive into some partnership updates. On the next slide, I wanted to update you on our progress against our scale goals. As you know, we've had a key goal for 25% of our pipeline to be partner sourced and 35% of our bookings to be partner influenced. We're currently tracking ahead of both of these goals, with 27% of our pipeline being partner sourced and 40% of our year-to-date bookings being influenced by at least one of you. That is a fantastic achievement at this point in the year, and we are really grateful to all the support you're providing us here, and we very much hope we are reciprocating with support in return. From a care perspective, we continue to want to drive a culture for collaboration and community, and will continue to play a very active role in the MAC Alliance. And now that the new MAC board is in place under the guidance of John Pinella, we're excited to be an active contributor in this program to help drive awareness and educate the market on the value of MAC. On this topic, we're already starting to think about opportunities to work with you at NRF and the MAC House event that will be hosted there, and also at MAC 3. So please do keep us posted if those events are in your plan for next year too. When it comes to lead, we continue to see growth in our partner accelerators and integrations. This is great, and I'll be touching on this topic further in a moment. Additionally, we're developing verticalized and use case-based pages for our website, and we'll be showcasing our partnerships here too. We've already completed e-commerce and retail specialist pages, and we'll be adding other industries, including finance, technology, travel, and healthcare in the coming weeks. We're also creating use case pages for localization and personalization. So if you've got a great joint case study that would be perfect for one of these pages, please do let us know. Next slide, please. And on the subject of joint solutions, just a quick reminder that if you have developed an app or an integration, then you can showcase this on our marketplace so our customers and prospects can understand the simplicity of connecting Contentstack to other solutions to build the experience that's right for them. To add to this, we are now going to be including accelerators in our marketplace. If you've developed an accelerator and would like to showcase this in our marketplace, please complete the form that is linked on this slide, and you can ask your PRM for access to that if you need it. We are hoping to launch all of these in our marketplace very soon. Next slide. So I talked earlier about partner influence, as this is one of the key metrics we focus on for the performance of our partner program. We feel that this is a really important trafficking metric. We know from industry experience that many companies recognize an increase in win rate and deal velocity when they co-sell with their partners. And if you need more proof, this data from Crossbeam demonstrates the value they have seen and reported in their State of the Partner Ecosystem report. We have motivated and incentivized, if you could go back slide, Matt. We've motivated and incentivized our sales teams to work with you because we do believe it will help them to be more successful. We know that you all have trusted relationships with the accounts that we collaborate on, and that you can help us to align with those contacts or provide us with recommendations or endorsements to those people. We also know that due to these long relationships you may have information or insights into these accounts, which can help us ensure that we maintain competitive advantage over other providers. And finally, where we present a joint solution to a customer, we can offer a more complete package that addresses more of their requirements and delivers more value to them. So for all of these reasons, we want to keep focusing on collaborating with you on our active deals where appropriate. And of course, we want to offer the same to you in return. So I hope this helps provide you with some background on why tracking partner influence and incentivizing our sales team on this metric is something we're really focused on. Moving on to the next slide. In order to support that collaboration, we're leaning in closely with Crossbeam this year, both to help us create new pipeline faster, but also identify where we should be collaborating. Our sales teams are very reliant on Crossbeam to help them identify these opportunities. So if you're not already in Crossbeam, it's definitely something to think about. Currently, we have 83 partners on Crossbeam. So if you're not using this tool, you may be missing out. For those of you who don't know, Crossbeam brings together data from your CRM with our CRM and looks for matches or overlaps. Where there's an overlap of data, that overlap is shared with the other party. So if one of your prospects is one of our customers, you'll see that as an overlap in Crossbeam. So you'll know it's our customer and you might want to reach out to us. The only data that's shared with us is the data you allow us to see. We obviously need the account name to do that matching, but then it's up to you if you want to share things like AE name, email address, or any other account data. If you aren't using Crossbeam but want to take a look, a basic Crossbeam account is free and will allow you to get many of the benefits of the product without any charge. It's only really when you get more sophisticated and want to add data directly to your CRM that costs are incurred. But if Crossbeam simply isn't an option for you, but you still want to do account mapping with us, you can still do that via spreadsheets. We simply need the domain or web address for each account in order to match that data. But please think about how you can explore this further by reaching out to me or your partner manager. Next slide. One other last housekeeping topic I wanted to share with you is a quick reminder to please remember to register your deals with us promptly. We have our deal registration portal that you can use to do this, and this will ensure we can track the leads that you send to us and help us ensure we're reciprocating leads back to you. Partner-generated pipeline is a key metric for our business, so obviously the more pipeline we can generate with you, the more support we're likely to get for our program. One point to note is we've had a number of situations recently where a partner did not register their deal in time, and the customer instead came to our website to do some research and was eventually contacted by one of our sales team directly. In many of these cases, the contact then let us know that they'd come to us due to a recommendation from one of you. So we were still able to track and recognize these leads, but we're certain there are many more that we're missing along the way. So please make sure you get credit for the work you do and register your leads with us. And on to my last slide and a final point from me, just a quick update on our cloud partnerships. As you know, we've been live on AWS for some time now, and we were delighted to launch on the Azure Marketplace as a transactable offering this month. We're already starting to see pipeline with Azure, and we're confident this is going to create great new opportunities for us and collaboration potentially with some of you. Our next step in this journey is with GCP. We've already started the process of replatforming onto GCP and do hope to be live there next year. So we'll keep you all updated on our progress there. So that's all for me from now. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat or reach out to me directly. But otherwise, I'm going to hand over to Nick Barron for our technical and enablement updates. Over to you, Nick.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Yeah, so just wanted to give you all a brief update on where we are from an enablement perspective primarily, and then talk a little bit about marketplace apps and what has been released since we last spoke on this webinar. All right, so the first thing is that our academy is getting bigger and bigger with every passing month. The last time we had a chat, we had 2 courses out there, and that is now up to 6, really kind of building out and flushing out a full-on developer path in terms of things like content modeling all the way through to hosting what you build on the Contentstack launch. If you head over to contentstack.com/academy, you'll see a new landing page where we have detailed breakdowns of each of the courses, as well as sort of a timeline in terms of how long it takes to execute all of those courses, and sort of our recommended approach to what that order should be to get the most out of it as well. There's guides in there as well to help you access and activate your Academy courses, as well as the sandboxes that go along with those. And there's all of that information for your customers as well. So that's a huge win, especially when it comes to helping them being your customers and our customers, adopt and learn about the platform and what it is that they need to do. Coming down the pike shortly, we will have a full new path for developer certification with a new developer exam to help everyone kind of get that same level of expertise. And of course, we have new courses that are already being built out and flushed out to get things moving. Next slide. All right. So the new courses that we have, right? There's two that were there before, as I mentioned. We had the end user training course, which is great for anyone who needs to get hands-on, kind of tactical understanding of how the nuts and bolts work in the user interface and what it means to interact with content and all of the sort of administration that goes with that. We've also had the developer onboarding course, which allows you to kind of get quickly up to speed with how to use the APIs, how to build out some simple objects, and really leverage the platform more from a development focus. We've also done a complete refresh of the content modeling course, which will give you all of the sort of tips and tricks. That's a tough one to say. All
There's
the
a
tips and
conundrum
tricks
there,
you
right there.
right, to build out and kind of create and support scalable content models for your customers, right? I think we all know any good CMS based project really starts and a lot of the success and failure can be defined when we're creating those initial content models. So even if it's a course that you have personally or your teams have personally taken in the past year or two, I would highly suggest revisiting that, as there have been a lot of enhancements to the product in the last year or two as well. Once you've kind of gone through that as well, we have 3 additional courses that all interact with different products within the platform as well. So looking at things like the Automation Hub with some real world recipes and some real world automations that we have actual customers and partners leveraging to really streamline some of those business practices and business workflows that can just sort of take place in the back end. So that's a very powerful one, as well as the ability to go through and build a marketplace app from scratch. So being able to leverage, some of the past tech that you all might be familiar with, depending on how long you've been a Contentstack partner, but all of that now coalesces into these marketplace apps. So whether it's custom fields, looking at dashboard widgets, full page applications, there's a lot. And I think Matt was a speaker on the last webinar for you all as well, and he went through some of those new integration points, and they're all in there now. So it's a really great way for you to extend the platform, right? It's one of the things that makes Contentstack special, in my perspective, is that you all have the ability to actually change the interface and how the order of operations happen within SaaS software, right? We're all used to being able to do that with on-premise and just go into the code base and hack and slash things until it works. But now having a proven track methodology for being able to do that within a SaaS platform is actually quite powerful. And all of this kind of finishes up with how do we then deploy our websites? And Contentstack recently launched earlier this year a product called Launch, which is front end hosting for full-blown sites, digital properties, even just serverless functions, webhooks, automation code, etc. So it's quite a useful tool to be able to just stand up and have that hosting environment handy, especially if your customer's like, hey, we want to have this cool little marketing site, and you don't want to have to go through sort of the whole deployment process and getting other technologies brought in. It's all there. It's supported out of the box, and things like content changes can force a rebuild of the code base as well. So whether you're going with SSG, CSR, any of the kind of 3-letter acronyms that go along with how your site is generated should all be supported. So that's sort of a brief overview of the new courses that are out there. If we go on to the next. A couple of things that I do want to kind of highlight here is, because we're giving you the access to create these Academy sandboxes, these Academy trials, it's important to know that you also have access to partner sandboxes. And you might be saying to yourself, why have both? What's the difference? Well, Academy trials are there temporarily. They will explode after 90 days. Think of like Inspector Gadget from your childhood, if you're as old as I am. Then all of a sudden, boom, the little letter is going to disappear. There's a reason we do that, and it's so that whatever the latest and greatest new features are that go along with the latest and greatest new e-learning courses, it's all built into that instance in that environment. So what that means, though, is once it's created, about 30 seconds later, it's out of date. So we want to have those sort of rolling so that you're always learning and using the newest available starter stacks that we have. It's also limited to single users, and the reason why is that you have to access things like organization level tooling, like Automation Hub or Launch or Marketplace apps. We wouldn't want you sort of having too many kids in the same sandbox playing around. It's really easy to damage each other's code that way. So if we kind of go back to the partner sandbox, it is a full-blown enterprise, unlimited. It is the Rolls Royce, the Bugatti of sort of trial instances, if you will. And it also gets all of the new features just automatically enabled in it, right? So they're there for you to be able to do things. You will have a designated admin who can add anyone at your organization to your partner sandbox. If you don't know who that is, you can always reach out to your PRM. I believe it's also listed within the partner portal as well. So you can always just reach out to that individual. It's a great place to build your proof of concepts and prototypes, right? If you're in the pre-sales phase with a customer and you need to show them something working, that's a great place because it's not going to get blown up. It's not going to turn into that piece of paper that's going to kind of flash burn itself off in a really cool graphic. It's also good for if you want to build out your own accelerators, right? So I know we talked at length about those on one of the last webinars, but we see a lot of traction with those from a marketing and lead gen perspective. So if it's something that you guys are interested in, we would be more than happy from the technical services organization to get involved with you to help sort of architect and put those things together. Because once it's there, you want that living in something that's going to be persistent so that you can show your customers or your prospects and, we can talk about it and point them in your direction as well. And also, they're just great playgrounds, right? New feature launches, and you want to go somewhere and you want to play around with it, and you might want to share what you've built with other people at your organization to do a little, co-work together. It's a really good option for that as well. So that is why we have both. Please do not use your sandboxes incorrectly would be my big ask, because if you're building out an accelerator or something and that trial disappears in the Academy trial, that's the breaks, I'm afraid.
So Nick, some dynamite content here, but what happens if I've already put some really important content in my Academy sandbox? Is it too late? Is it just going to explode?
All hope is lost. That's the end. We might as well just give up now. No, of course that's not the case. We can certainly help you extend that, right? We have full access to your trial instance as well, so we can help you pull that information out. We've got import and export tooling built into the platform. We've got the CLI MIG tools. We've got all of these different ways where if you do have something and you're like, oh no, I put it in my Academy trial, we can help you get that into your partner instance as well. So please reach out to your friendly neighborhood partner relationship manager, and they will put you in contact with somebody on my team to help you guys out. Great
Wonderful.
question.
I am glad that there are more three-letter acronyms to reassure me on that topic.
Of course. I was trying to think of a funny three-letter acronym, but I couldn't. So, Matt, if we can move on to the next slide. Just a quick update about the out-of-the-box supported marketplace integrations. There's a few that are new since the last time we talked. One is for the video streaming service Vimeo that we should all be familiar with, as well as we have an official e-commerce boilerplate that we can share with you. Why would you want a boilerplate? Well, maybe you have a partner, prospect, or customer who is very interested in using some e-commerce tool that we don't support out of the box. This boilerplate has all of the core functions and methods and interactivity points already built into it that you might know from things like our BigCommerce or commerce tools, Shopify, SFCC, SAPCC. Got some more three-letter acronyms in there. So it's all of the work that we've put into those. You now get access to that to just connect it. It's just as easy as changing the endpoints and the APIs, right? I'm pretty sure that's the greatest lie that's ever been told to developers, but it should at least streamline that process and reduce the level of effort. We've already done a bunch of that work. Hit Control C, Control V. Those are the two keys on my keyboard that are basically worn thin, and I highly advise you to not reinvent the wheel. This week, and I think one of them might have gone out this morning, I've yet to check, we are also releasing our Marketo Forms and an Optimizely app as well. They just weren't technically released when I put this slide together, so I couldn't say it in good faith, but those should be there within the next 24 hours if they're not already. And we will soon have a app in our marketplace, or that will be linked from our marketplace for Dynamic Yield, who has built in a deep integration with Contentstack as well to allow for personalization and A/B testing using one of the biggest household names in the personalization space. As you can see here, there's also a laundry list of apps and integrations that we've updated. Algolia, SFCC, BigCommerce, Cloudinary, YouTube, Bulk Ops, Formio, and a big update for our WordBee translation integration. What might be important to you all, though, is that we still have some big opportunities within the marketplace that I would love to explore with anyone who's interested. And the two things really are the personalization space and or the idea of accelerators. So having a pre-configured set of solutions that are all tied together is something that our joint prospects are constantly asking us, and I know they're asking you all for them as well. And it's just a great opportunity to bring you to the table and say, look at what partner X has. They've integrated these few things. Here's sort of their implementation of it. Because while we can show our demonstrations that do have integrations into some of these major tools, it adds a huge level of reassurance to the prospect that if you're the solution implementer that wants to do it, you've already got those chops and you already know what you're doing. So think of it as sort of a pre-built success story that you're bringing to that sales process. And yeah, again, with personalization, right? I cannot think of a deal that we have had recently, and by recently I mean 2 years, where personalization wasn't mentioned. It is a forever need, right? Content, as they say, is king. But I would argue that delivering that content to the right person at the right time might also be worthy of its very own crown. So if that's something that you have any expertise in, please feel free to reach out to me directly. Or again through your partner relationship manager, and we'll see what we can do. We've got a lot of creative thoughts around these things, so yeah, it's always good to work together and co-work. So unless there are any questions, that is it from the enablement updates on my side of the house.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Nick. As a reminder, if you have questions, please drop them in the Q&A panel. Nick or one of us will be happy to answer that. Otherwise, quite frankly, I don't think content is king. I think Nick Barron is the king of technical and enablement updates. So thank you very much for those pieces, Nick. We are now going to hand over to the very own Christine Masters for some updates on content intelligence.
Hello, thank you so much. Yeah, I am the product manager here at Contentstack working on automation and artificial intelligence. So I'm going to bring you a couple of product updates about those two areas. A lot of really exciting things going on in this space for sure. Next slide. To get started, I wanted to talk a little bit about a couple of things that Nick actually just mentioned, but to kind of double emphasize that. Next slide. Yeah, just like talking a little bit about how we can work together on some of these things, especially in the product space. So for a solutions partner, again, Nick mentioned some of these things, but we would love to be engaged with you, be talking more with you in terms of like meeting with the product team, listening to our roadmap, talking about things that you're working on, things that you're hearing. We can coordinate on that. We would love it if, again, Nick mentioned these accelerators, which are really helpful to customers, right? That they love the composable idea. They love putting together a best of breed solution for their specific use case. But, having something that's kind of pre-built with the solutions partner that they're working with is even better. That works great. That way they can still do what they need, but then it's easy. That's the best of both worlds. Looking at ways to customize the interface or the solutions for specific things that customers are interested in, solving specific problems for customers. That's amazing. We would love to talk to you more about that. And then just, we have all these mentions of the different Academy courses and all the things that are available now, just staying up to date, making sure that your staff knows about the Academy and knows about the different training opportunities that are available. So those are some great ideas to make sure that you are kind of utilizing this relationship the best way possible. Next slide. This is talking a little bit more about the technology partners and sort of considering, our other SaaS platforms or different vendors that are out there and are part of our partner ecosystem. We definitely obviously want to be talking to you as well and really looking at the best ways that we can work together. There's several different things that we currently do with our technology partners in terms of integrations. We have our marketplace apps that Nick just mentioned, a whole bunch of updates that were made and some new ones that are available. If you have one that's existing in the marketplace currently that is for your platform, make sure it is the best representation of your platform and the best use case of your technology. Is it updated? Are there additional tools or additional best practices that could be implemented with your technology? Please reach out to us, let us know about that. Automation Hub is another one where we have connectors that are available in Automation Hub. And as our customers are setting up these streamlined workflows, making sure that you have a connector in our Automation Hub as well as our marketplace that will automate and work on an integration with your product so that customers can streamline those workflows the best way possible. So make sure you're cognizant of that. Again, reach out to us, let us know if you're interested in working together on that. We would love to to discuss more in this area. And then just obviously, again, engaging with us, any ideas you have, we would love to work together more closely with you. All right, so next slide. Now we're going to talk a little bit about some different AI initiatives that we have, both in terms of our AI assistant as well as our automation platform that deals specifically with artificial intelligence. This has obviously, as everyone knows, blown up over the last year or so. And there is so much happening in this space right now, so many exciting things. And we just wanted to kind of give you an update on what we're working on. The next slide. This is talking just a little bit about kind of our AI strategy in general. We really feel that, like I said, AI stuff is so exciting right now, and everybody is wanting to do something with it and talk about it. And every, every application that's out there has some kind of ChatGPT integration, even if it doesn't make a lot of sense, right? That's one of the things we see right now is that, random apps have a ChatGPT sidebar, even though it's like, why would I ever need something in that space right now? So we really feel like doing things that are useful and actually helpful to the customers and making sure that we're not doing like AI stuff for the sake of AI and just really thinking about those use cases. So this slide talks just a little bit about how we have kind of this idea of layering intelligence into the platform so that it's useful at the point of the customer, the end user doing work. Where we've got kind of these top level applications that are implementing smart strategies inside of the CMS. But then we have this middleware where this layer of smart applications, user prompts, some stuff we'll talk about towards the end here with vector databases and so forth. And then this just forms like a layer of intelligence within the software that is utilized by those different top level applications. And then lastly, at the foundation, we've got these large language models like ChatGPT, like these other models that are available. And those are kind of the brains behind the operation, so to speak. One strategy that we have currently is that we're basically positioning ourselves as being LLM agnostic, meaning that we'll work with different cloud providers that are offering these, AI models so that way our customers can align with the cloud platform that they feel comfortable with. So just as an example, earlier, maybe a week or two ago, I don't know, it seems like it's probably a shorter period of time, I think, but about a week ago, we just launched with Amazon Bedrock. This was something that they launched about a week ago, and we've been working with them on this for a couple of weeks before, while it was still in beta. And this really allows any of our customers to, for both Automation Hub and for our AI Assistant platform, which we'll talk about in a second, they can actually choose to use Amazon as their foundation model to power those applications. And this is really interesting because it allows the customer, again, some customers, it's difficult to get the procurement approval for ChatGPT, the legal sign off for ChatGPT, and aligning with Amazon that they're already familiar with might be something that's more attractive to them. So we make this available in our platform. Okay, next slide. So we did want to just mention very quickly in terms of, I'm sure that everyone's having a lot of conversations currently with their customers about AI. And we just wanted to mention a couple of really quick things in regards to this. First off, again, we're already talking with several of you, I'm sure, that are on this call about ways that you can utilize both AI in general, as well as AI through our products to reach out to your customers, to discuss AI, to talk about AI opportunities. And there's just a lot of excitement and a lot of consultation going on in this area that I think can be helpful to everybody involved. A lot of customers currently are really thinking about AI and how it can be useful to their business and how it can streamline workflows, personalized content, which is a really interesting use case. And just these other really cool implementations of this, but there's still a lot of nervousness about pulling the trigger and really using some of this generative AI in production. And I think that we, as well as our solutions partners, can really help with that. So it's a great opportunity for both of us. As we're talking about the next two products that I'm going to be talking about, think about, as you're consulting customers and working with your customers, helping them to implement something like AI Assistant and how to best utilize that, helping them create custom prompts and specific solutions for their use cases. And then as they become more comfortable with AI and they're using AI Assistant on a daily basis, then you can kind of start thinking about how do you start streamlining that generative AI workflow and moving it over to Automation Hub, where it has less human review, but can be very streamlined. So those are kind of two things to think about as we're talking about the next two products. So next slide. So the first off, let's talk about AI Assistant. And next slide. Essentially, AI Assistant, this has been out for a couple of months now in an early access program. And essentially what this is, it's an application that we have created internally here, but it allows you to have a toolbar inside of the editorial form, inside of the entry form, essentially, that each of these different prompts allows you to reach out to AI and help with text generation, ideas on text, a lot of just common use cases for generative AI. And I'll talk about a couple of really cool things that we can see in the toolbar here. One is that on the top, you can see this thing called custom actions. These custom actions are actually prompts that the customer can build, and it's essentially targeted on a per stack basis for that particular implementation of the app. And they can create a custom prompt just for them. So we've actually seen some really great use cases of this where, they're including, let's say it's a retail store and they want to be able to create descriptions for their products. They might have a very specific tone of voice, a very specific structure to how the descriptions are created. We start off with a eye-catching sentence, then we talk about the 3 use cases, and then we close with the price or something like that. That particular structure and even like examples of their best product descriptions can actually be implemented in a custom prompt and then utilized within the AI assistant just for their business, and then help streamline that process. So, we have businesses now that are sort of working on these use cases where they've got staff members spending 4 hours a day writing descriptions, that a lot of that can be streamlined, and they'll click the button to write the description, it writes it for them, and then they're just able to review it in real time. So some of those things can just really, really help our businesses. And again, The AI technology is now at the level where this is really production ready, is really enterprise ready. Some of that is prompting, which we're allowing you to do here, which is really exciting. Next, we actually see a little bit where there's the ability to replace a field. And in this case, we're going to have options like a tone of voice, like rewriting for spelling or SEO. And then at the bottom, we have the ability to write a field based on another field. So you can generate a headline based on the body copy, or generate SEO text or SEO keywords based on the headline or the body copy. So all of those things are great ways to, again, be able to streamline a lot of those processes. And then again, just very quickly, again, just to note that we do have multiple LLMs that are supported here. We currently support Microsoft Azure, OpenAI ChatGPT, and ChatGPT from OpenAI. And then, which is kind of confusing, but it's essentially one is a hosted, Microsoft hosted version of ChatGPT. And then we also support Amazon Bedrock, which is essentially a kind of a framework for a bunch of different LLMs. So that includes something like the Claude from Anthropic, which is probably the biggest competitor to ChatGPT currently. And also the Llama 2 from Meta is going to be available in Amazon Bedrock as well. So we'll be able to implement that here. So a lot of exciting stuff going on there. Next slide. So this is just a quick example of a new feature that came out a couple weeks ago with AI Assistant, something that a lot of our customers who are using AI Assistant had asked for. But essentially, if you're inside of a JSON RTE editor, which is a kind of a specialty kind of rich text editor that we offer at Contentstack, you're actually able to highlight certain pieces of text. So we can kind of see in this example where I have a massive technological shift is highlighted in my editor. And then part of the hover menu that comes up, we now have AI Assistant available there as well. So this is really cool because it allows you to operate the same kind of commands that you would with AI Assistant, but only at a granular level on a sub-paragraph, on a couple of sentences, on a couple of words, or an individual word even, basis. So in this particular case, I can come in and say, massive technological shift. I can invoke the AI assistant, and then I can actually, you can see that I've highlighted on there the command for finding synonyms. So if there's something where I might have like used this particular phrase too often, I can find other ways to like reword that text. I can rewrite it for clarity. If there's a sentence that's too long, I can, rewrite that sentence and make it a little bit shorter. We've actually been working a lot with our internal marketing teams at Contentstack on some of the different commands that they would like to utilize. One of their suggestions was that we now have available is rewrite this as a bulleted list. So you can imagine if you have something that you've got 3 paragraphs and they seem kind of too much text and you feel like you need to break it up, you just highlight the 3 things and you say, make it a bulleted list, and ChatGPT or Amazon Bedrock will do it all for you. So it's really, really interesting. And there's a lot of work going on in this space. This in-editor version of AI Assistant also has custom commands. So again, if there's a specific type of command that a customer might be able to utilize at a sub-paragraph or a paragraph basis, that's something that we can actually add in here as well. So again, this is like a really interesting opportunity where you can consult your customers on how to set this up and how to utilize this. And it can be extremely helpful in streamlining their workflows and allowing them to implement AI in kind of a responsible manner. And the next slide. So if that is interesting to you, the AI assistant is generally available. It's available as a very quick and easy download from our public marketplace, and it's totally free to use. So when we're talking about these marketplace accelerators, or if you're trying to put together a bundle of apps that you want to support for your customers, this is an awesome one to just add in there. Again, it's free to use. It's something that you can help them, help consult them on proper usage of AI. You can help set up their custom prompts. And this is a really great kind of AI implementation to add to the mix of your product offerings. All right, next slide. So now we'll be talking a little bit about our Automation Hub product. Next slide. Hopefully y'all are familiar with Automation Hub. This is essentially a visual workflow builder that allows you to streamline processes and integrations. Essentially, it starts with a trigger, and the trigger could be anything from publishing a story or creating new content, or maybe an external kind of webhook from another software provider. And that trigger kind of starts off the whole process. And after that, it's just a series of steps that you can help set up in the Automation Hub that do various things, have different connectors to different providers. So you might think about every time something is published, it goes to Algolia, maybe it goes to translation. We now have a bunch of connectors for these artificial intelligence systems. So you can imagine sending something to ChatGPT to have it write a summary, or maybe extract keywords, something like that. And then at the very end, you add a Slack connector to let the team know that it's done. So all of these are, all these different steps put together is called an automation. And it's just a really great way to help streamline processes. Next slide. So this is an example of just many of the different connectors that we currently have in our marketplace. You can see that we've got some things here for ChatGPT, for Amazon Bedrock, and a lot of the other providers that are out there and vendors that we love to work with. We do also have some utilities that are available internally. So we have like a code block and some other things that just help implement these processes. And then just remember, again, as I mentioned previously, if you're a tech provider that is watching this and you don't have a connector currently listed, definitely reach out to us. We love adding things. We love thinking about the best use cases and making sure that kind of the best practices for your particular application are implemented here. So definitely reach out to us. And I did want to mention just very quickly, actually, let's go to the next slide. So I did want to mention very quickly, it's super, super interesting as we're adding in these connectors that for ChatGPT or for Amazon Bedrock, they really open up some just amazing new use cases that are available. And again, if you're a solutions provider that is talking to customers, these might be some great opportunities to consult and to help them implement some of these use cases that they are talking to us about and talking elsewhere about. But just a couple of really quick things here that I wanted to point out. Think about using AI as part of an automated workflow to do log analysis. So you can imagine we did this with one customer where they took their publishing log. And so every day, or maybe every couple of days, once a week, on a schedule, it will take your publishing log, it sends it to ChatGPT, it asks ChatGPT to write an analysis of your publishing activity over the last week, and then it creates a report, and then it emails the report or Slacks the report to your marketing team. It can say things like, what percentage of my content was translated? Was there anything that was missing SEO tags? Just the various things that ChatGPT is able to kind of analyze as part of their just the LLM knowledge that it has can be included in a report like that. And it's really, really informational and useful. Another one is obviously, Nick was mentioning personalization. A lot of people are talking about that now, really thinking about how to do personalization at scale. You don't want to be, if you have 32 different audiences or segments that you're trying to target, you don't want to be typing 32 different versions of every story or every call to action. And generative AI is a really great way to accomplish that without having humans do everything. And we have a couple of customers that are working on this currently, and it's super, super interesting and very useful, where you just basically can use Automation Hub and you say, Automation Hub, here are my 32 audiences. When I create new content, generate 32 slightly different versions targeted to each of these different audiences. And what it's able to do is really, really useful. And you have to get the prompting right. And it might take some some work to get the right mix of that. But we're seeing this happen now, and it's super interesting. And I think, again, it's going to benefit a lot of people. So there's a bunch of other stuff on here that I won't, go into every single one of these, but there's a lot of great use cases that are out there. If you see anything that's interesting and you want to talk to us more about, please reach out to me. We'd love to talk to you. If you have a customer that's trying to do something like this and needs our help, we would love it if we could partner on this. All right. And I think the next slide. Regarding Automation Hub specifically, it is usage-based pricing, but each customer gets 200 executions each month for free. So if you can imagine, each time you run an automation, no matter how many steps it has, that's one execution. And so they get 200 executions per month. You can imagine that even, again, as part of your accelerator, as part of your starting package, you could actually have some automations that you support and that are kind of set up as part of your package that are, if you're going to do that kind of like AI content analysis, and that's something that you send out once a week or even once a day, that could easily fit into this 200 executions per month. So you'd be able to set that up for them without even having to talk about the pricing or anything like that in terms of that conversation. So that's something that could be really, really useful. And again, something that you could offer as part of your client offering that would be really interesting and new. I also wanted to mention, Nick was talking about those sandbox accounts, that partners actually get 1,000 executions as part of their, for their kind of partner sandbox accounts. So this is something where we're giving you a lot of leeway to really experiment with this and try things out. And we'd love it if you worked more in that area. And yes, so let's see the next slide. So the last thing I want to talk about, so this is we haven't talked about this a ton publicly yet. So this is kind of a big thing to sort of be talking about this with you guys. And again, we're really looking to just sort of educate our partner ecosystem and see if there's anybody who would like more information about this or would like to work with us more closely on this. But our next phase of AI is really creating really on-brand generative AI. So next slide. The way that we're working on doing this is really super interesting. We're working on creating essentially a vector database with the customer's specific knowledge. So this would be, it kind of depends on the industry and depends on the customer. This could be a whole bunch of different product descriptions. It could be the documentation for, how their various products work. It could be a whole bunch of blog posts and news about the industry. And essentially, each of the customers would determine what things are most important for their specific industry, and those go into this knowledge base. And then what we do is actually do what's called retrieval augmentation, but essentially we just grab a couple of useful items from that database as per whatever the prompt is coming from the user, and we add those to the prompt that goes to AI, and it just makes that prompt more knowledgeable, more specific to the brand, and more detailed. And that's really a lot of the key to getting really good generative AI, is having that background information and having that detail in those prompts. So let me give you a really quick example on the next slide. This is just a really quick, it's probably hard to read, but just very quickly. So I asked ChatGPT to write a blog post about Automation Hub and how do you set it up? Well, by default, ChatGPT doesn't know Automation Hub is a new product. It hasn't been trained in its training database. And so it just basically makes something up. And that's where we get this problem with hallucinations, where it's trying to answer your question, it's trying to be helpful, but it just makes something up because it doesn't know what exactly you want. But on the right-hand side, after we do this retrieval augmentation, I say, what is Automation Hub and how do you set it up? The retrieval grabs articles from my database about Automation Hub. It's essentially our docs about Automation Hub and our marketing messaging for it. And then it adds that to the prompt that it sends to ChatGPT. And then it says, write me a blog post about it. And now the blog post actually makes sense. It's got our marketing messages in it. It knows that it's from Contentstack. And at the bottom here, we actually see that it's starting to do like a step-by-step setup with the actual names of the buttons that are actually in the interface. So it goes from not really useful, I have to rewrite the whole thing, to I could actually kind of run with this and maybe make a couple of tweaks and use this. So we really think that this is the future of generative content, that it's on brand, it's factual, and it's useful to the customer, and that this is sort of our next release over in this area that we're hoping to launch probably in the beginning of next year. And at the very end, I'll just show, this is kind of, and I won't go into the details of this, but the next slide has the sort of the schema for how this works, the retrieval augmentation. We've got our vector databases, we've got our prompt designer to stitch everything together at the end, and then it just makes everything more useful and more impactful. I think that's it.
Thank you so much, Christine. That was a really great update. There's a lot going on there with AI and lots of different ways that partners can get involved in that stuff. So if you find that what Christine's talked about today has triggered a great idea and you want to explore that further, please let your PRM know and we can get you connected up with Christine for a further chat about that topic. So that wraps it up for today. Those are all our updates for this quarter. As per usual, you have been a little bit of a quiet bunch, but I hope you have found this helpful. If you are too shy to raise a question on the Q&A, but you want to talk to your PRM later, you want to let me know something you'd love to hear in next quarter's update, then please feel free to reach out. Otherwise, we will be back in 3 months' time with a further update. Thank you for your time, team.